You're most welcome, and the indulgence came from the ranking member, who will now recognize Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jensen, China has used AI-generated images to sow discord related to the Maui wildfires a couple of months ago that took 100 American lives. What is America's exposure to deep fakes and AI-generated images from China? How can that hurt us from a security standpoint?
I think deep fakes are going to be the defining security issue of the next 10 years. As awful as the wars that we find our partners in globally, unfortunately, this is the one that scares me the most. Because what happens if you destroy trust in a society? You can't have an open polis and a republic if there isn't the ability to trust the information. And unfortunately, the technology is moving at a pace right now where it's very difficult to keep up with how you can help both, whether through just convention and practice, people identify the fakes, or do clever things like watermarking images. You still probably won't be able to do it with text, unfortunately. So I think that you're grappling with the core issue. And I would say that we've seen this too in some of the tabletop exercises we've been running. So as part of that study on CISA, we got together 60 federal and private sector CISOs, so from large federal agencies and large companies. And we then had 1,000 Americans, a representative sample of 1,000 different Americans play the same game. Both populations were more concerned about deep fakes than I originally anticipated. So I think both the general public is afraid and anticipated some of what we saw. We did these before the Chinese actually amplified the issues in Maui, and business leaders are. The question is, what do you do about it? I think it's going to have to involve a mix of both technological watermarking, so some requirement to mark images, and it probably is going to have to come up with something like the Motion Picture Association of America. Like, how do we start to have some independent body that certifies well-documented, fake things that are circulating? I don't know what that looks like, but I don't think it should be government necessarily, because that will quickly become polarized. But if you have some entity that can just allow people to know, hey, I think most people are actually good at heart. I take a Locke view, not a Hobbes view. So if you let them know they're inadvertently circulating fake stuff, I think a good number of them might back down. But they don't want to be kind of told by a stranger they're circulating fake things. So I think that's where you're going to have to get after it. I don't think we're ever going to stop China from doing it, though. So it's just a question of rapidly identifying, triaging, and make sure people understand it's fake.
Thank you. Dr. Hanas, what role do you think government should play in making sure that deep fakes and AI-generated images do not do us harm, either national security or economically?
Probably not the best person to answer that question, Congressman. My concern is not so much with deep fakes per se, but with the technology that supports deep fakes, and that is AI moving on to artificial general intelligence, which opens up a whole lot of other scenarios which we need to pay attention to. Deep fakes being just one. I'm more concerned with control discrete control at the neural level, which could actually happen.
Okay, well, let me ask that same question of Dr. Brennan. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. I think we've already started to see companies highlight this potential risk, and indeed, Alphabet has got a new rule that says if you're going to do a political advertisement and you're going to use generative AI, you need to disclose that to the viewers. So there'll be a combination of things that happen in the marketplace because people want customers and they don't want to harm their customers. But it will be important for the intelligence services and law enforcement to carefully monitor foreign groups that are perpetrating these activities and pursue them through all means necessary. And we should expect that there will be more of this. China saw what Russia and Iran attempted in previous elections, and we should just expect it all the time now.
Thank you. Mr. Sheldon.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with the other panelists that this is a problem that likely could get worse before it gets better. I'm encouraged to see some experimentation, both with people who are producing generative images, like the utilities that have created to do that, and with how some of the social media networks are promoting the ability for users to tag materials that are shared that may be generated. I think we need to have some more experimentation like that, as well as potentially some tools that operate as registers where people can identify content they've made and associate it with a date, time, creation, and intention, so that people can look at that sort of thing after the fact. They see something that looks suspicious and verify whether it exists on such a register. So those are some of the ideas the community is playing with now.
And if I might, Mr. Chairman, just one final question. Dr. Hanas, earlier this summer, the Cyberspace Administration of China released guidelines for the adoption of generative AI technology, which included new requirements for how algorithms are built and deployed, as well as for what information AI developers must disclose to the government and the public. What is the significance of those regulations?
I think they're trying to do two things. Part of it's for show. They want to get out in front and demonstrate that they are that the Chinese government is aware of the problems with AI and controlling it. On the one hand, on the other hand, I do believe that they are sincere. The Chinese government is aware of its citizens' concerns with privacy, and are trying to address it because they recognize this as a popular issue, and it's to their advantage to address these issues to keep the public happy is what it comes down to. So part of it's two-sided, like I said. On the one hand, they're demonstrating to the world that they care. On the other hand, they're demonstrating to their own population that we hear your grievance and we're doing something about it.
Thank you. I yield back.